Today's big news comes out of Sweden, where we're getting an all-new electric Volvo. This is going to be sold worldwide, not just in Europe. You'll also be able to get it in the United States, and it's going to be part of Volvo's big push towards electrification. According to Volvo's president, over the next 9 years, which really isn't a very long time, Volvo is going to become a fully electric car brand. Versus the rumors that we've heard previously, that really seems like an acceleration of Volvo's electrified plans. Now let's talk about the C40 before we dive into the rest of what Volvo has going on. As you can see, this looks an awful lot like the XC40. That's because it basically is a coupified version of the XC40. So you can think of this as the X2 to the X1. This is the sleeker, sexier, and more aerodynamic version of the XC40. One of the things that I was surprised about by the XC40 is that it ended up so square, that Volvo really didn't make any body modifications when they changed it into an electric vehicle. That means that it is one of the few boxy electric crossovers, and that does have an impact on range. So Volvo's answer to that is the C40 Recharge. When you look at the back three-quarters view of the C40 Recharge, you'll certainly notice that this is styled an awful lot more like every other electric crossover out there, whether we're talking about the Volkswagen ID.4, obviously the Tesla Model Y, the Mustang Mach-E, etc. This has that more aerodynamic profile, and as a result, I expect the cargo area to shrink just a little bit versus the XC40. Rather unfortunately, Volvo has not released too many specifications for the new C40 Recharge, so bear with me here. Some of this is going to be supposition, and some of it is going to be educated guess based on what we see in the XC40 Recharge. We do know that this is going to be an all-wheel drive vehicle. It's going to be their dual motor system, so 408 horsepower total in the United States, and it's going to have a 78 kilowatt-hour battery pack, basically the same battery pack that we see in the XC40 Recharge, and of course the closely related Polestar 2. Speaking of the Polestar 2, I have to say I'm surprised that Volvo now has 2 full EVs, and so far we just have the 1 full EV from supposedly the all-electric sub-brand of Volvo. Go figure. The other thing you need to know about the XC40 Recharge is that it's not just a coupified version of the XC40, they've definitely updated the styling. So it looks certainly more expressive up front than we find in the XC40. If you prefer a more upright and traditional electric crossover, that would be the XC40 Recharge. If you want something that's a little bit slimmer and sexier, that's going to be the C40. Unfortunately, Volvo didn't provide too many interior photos of the C40, but let's roll through what we have here. You can see that it uses the same Google infotainment system that we see in the XC40 Recharge, and of course that Polestar 2 as well. The dashboard styling has not really changed versus the gasoline version of the XC40, but some of the components have been tweaked. So we have different trim on the inside. We don't have leather in this interior. It's going to be an all-vegan interior, which is definitely a change for Volvo. We also don't have quite as large of a panoramic roof above the driver and front passengers' heads as we find in some of the other electric cars out there, mainly because of the coupe-like styling. So based on this photo, it looks like the ceiling over the rear passengers' heads is going to be a bit more of a traditional headliner, and then in front of the driver and front passenger, we're going to get a large expansive glass. It doesn't appear to have any sort of electric shade there. The instrument cluster is going to be the full LCD instrument cluster that we also see in the XC40 Recharge, and the rest of the interior components again seem very, very similar. Volvo has only provided a small close-up of the front passenger seat. From here you can see that it looks like a combination of the imitation leather and then a fabric insert in the middle, but the rest of the styling is very, very similar to the regular XC40. It looks like the carpeted sections of the interior continue up the center console and up portions of the door, just as we see in the current XC40. As you'd expect out of a vehicle that's a little bit more aerodynamic than its squarer brother, this is going to have a longer range, although the range is not going to be too much longer. According to the WLTP cycle, the XC40 Recharge gets 400 kilometers of range. This will get 420 kilometers of range, so by the time that makes it over to the US, it's probably going to be somewhere around 220 to 230 miles of range, possibly depending on software updates. And Volvo is promising full over-the-air update functionality, just as we see in the Polestar 2. The Polestar 2 has recently received a bit of a range bump based on a recent software update, so a lot of that research and development that's going into Polestar products is also going into Volvo products because they're so closely related. Rounding out the information that Volvo has provided, this will be built right alongside the XC40 Recharge in the same factory in Belgium that produces other small Volvo cars. The last item in the press release that struck me is that this is going to be the first Volvo to receive their full pixel LED headlights. This is a technology that we've seen from some German auto manufacturers over the last few years, but rather unfortunately in the United States these headlights won't do any of the fancy things that you'll see them do in Europe. That's because American headlight laws are honestly pretty stupid, and it's not legal for them to do all those fancy things here until our lighting laws change. So hopefully that will change at some point. Volvo will be able to software update those features and functions over the air, so if it ever changes, you'd be able to get access to them. But in America, it's probably not as fancy as it would otherwise sound. Now, going back to the beginning of this video, this is about more than just the C40 announcement. Volvo has decided to change the way that you buy a Volvo in America. Exactly how this plan plays out over time will remain to be seen, because in the United States, car dealers hold an awful lot of power, but Volvo plans to make all of their electric vehicles available for sale online only. So you'll go online and you'll either lease or you'll buy your Volvo online, you'll configure it, you'll choose your options, etc., and you'll arrange for delivery or test drives, things like that, completely online. This is an expansion of the Care by Volvo program. You'll be able to buy your Volvo in a more traditional fashion if that's what you're interested in, but you'll also be able to subscribe to your plug-in Volvo. That will provide you not just with the lease payment effectively, but also insurance, as we've seen in the Care by Volvo program for a while, service, the warranty, and newly and quite interestingly, home charging can possibly be included in the price tag as well. So you'd be able to order your Volvo online, have a home charging system installed, theoretically, depending on exactly where you are, and a whole bunch of other caveats there, I'm sure, as time goes on. But theoretically, this is going to be one of the more all-encompassing ways of getting a car. And very much like the Care by Volvo program that was seen from them before, you'll be able to change out your electric car if that's something that you're interested in after a relatively short amount of time. Care by Volvo allows you to exchange your vehicle before the regular lease cycle would normally be up, so you can move into a different Care by Volvo vehicle, or now theoretically into multiple EVs from Volvo. It also allows someone that maybe is EV intending at the moment to say, maybe I'll get a full EV, I'll get a C40 Recharge or an XC40 Recharge, and then after a year, I might say, gee, I don't know if I can do this, maybe I'll go for a plug-in hybrid until I'm really ready to take the plunge again. Of course, the key thing to keep in mind at the moment is that we don't know any specific regional details about the Care by Volvo program for the new C40 and XC40. There are going to be some substantial differences, I'm sure, between this program in Europe and in the United States, because dealer laws and dealer realities are going to be a little bit different. You will probably still be able to get one of these vehicles from your local Volvo dealer. Obviously, they're going to need to facilitate things in areas where dealers exist in the United States, but exactly how this changes from region to region, we don't know just yet. Volvo is really trying to go to a no-haggle pricing scheme where there's just a fixed price for everything, a fixed price for the Care by Volvo program or buying the vehicle, more of a subscription model. Definitely an interesting twist for buying a new luxury car in America. Let me know what you think about all that down there in the comment section below. And of course, stay tuned because I'll get you more information and hopefully get my hands on the XC40 Recharge and the C40 just as soon as I possibly can. I'll see all of you later.